Good morning. All right, so we're going to work on his skin today. Now we've got some other color in, and so I think it's time. So here's the thing. I'm pretty sure, if I recognize human nature, that a lot of you are looking at this and you're already saying, wait a minute, his beard's skin color, I should have left it white or something to that effect. No, we're going to get there. But look, if you look at the value here and you look at the value here, this is still a good bit darker, and it is grayer. So that's what we're going to do to it next. So I thought I'd take a little different direction with this. And you notice I have this covered up. I have that covered up for a reason. So I went ahead and developed a little bit of a gray right here because this is in a lot of shadow. This is way dark. Let's see if that shows up on the camera. Yeah, just barely. Let's pull it down. Okay. So you can see this area is really dark. So by putting some color in there, I'm still playing it really safe. And I don't want to get that dark, but this is not dark enough. So the thing is, I mixed a gray here. And I generally like to layer, but I thought that this was a time when maybe we would do something different. So I'm starting out with cerulean. Cerulean's got a lot of opacity to it. This is cerulean genuine or cerulean chromium, so it's not the one with white in it, but it still has a lot of opacity. So there it is. We'll mix up a little bit more. And then I'm going to purple it up, because remember, we're mixing a gray. So I'm going to use, here's quin coral. Let's put a little quin coral in it at a time. That might be enough. Okay. So that's going to make, you can see where I've tested other things up here. That's going to make a bluish purple. Not too bad, actually. I've got that on kind of strong. But I think, let's thin it out a little bit. And if I want it to be grayer, I'll just put a tiny bit of yellow in here. I've got new gamboge, and boy, I've just barely got any on this brush. Maybe just a teeny tiny bit more. Oh, I forgot to see if that was where you could see it. Well, you probably can't. All right, so now I've got a gray. Let's put a little more water in here. There's my gray. That's a nice gray. Choosing colors I'm going to be working with anyway. So what do we do with it? Well, I put, as you can see, I'd already tested it right here. Let's put a little more in under the hat. You know, actually that hat is grayed down under there. Why don't we just pull a little of that up under that shadow part of the hat. And we'll add water here. Pull it down this way. So we've got just a little bit of a grayed area there. Well, where else would I want to put it? Well, I guess everywhere there's a beard. Let's see what it does over here. I want to keep this almost white. So I better put a whole lot of water. Just, let's see. That's enough. I don't even know if that's showing up on camera. But what it's doing is just enough to turn his beard from yellowish to cool. Now we'll get a little bit stronger as we get in here towards the middle. Okay, so let's add more water here. And I didn't worry about exactly where the edge of the lip was. All this area is in shadow. In fact, let's go ahead and let's just shadow part of the neck too. In fact, let's shadow the whole neck a little bit. Oh, and I needed to. Now, I'm on dry paper, by the way, obviously, but I'll mention that. Just keep this real thin for now. But what we've done is we've cooled this area. And we've got some shadow on the neck. I usually don't put much blue in first. It's so easy to get too much blue and never be able to get back to normal. So, but I think I'll go ahead and I'll just do a little bit of shadow in this eye area. See the shape? See the shape right here? You could even draw that shape in if you wanted to. See it? There's a little area of the glasses where something happens here because of the lens, I think. But so you've got a little darker edge there. It comes around and does a thing like this. It goes up in here. And actually, even this part of the eyelid is a light grayed area. And it could come on across over there. So let's just... Oop, I almost forgot this area. I almost screwed that up. If it looks like it's getting a little too dark, just squeeze that brush out and suck a little of it up. And let's go ahead and pull a little bit of a shadow on over here. That's probably enough gray shadow forever and ever on this right here. In fact, I'm just going to play it safe and pull up just a little bit more of it. I'd rather have too little than too much because I can always add it in at the end. Now you'll see where this is layering over some quin coral. I did that purposely. I really want to layer the coral with this and not mix them together. You mix them together and you just get an ugly brown. And it doesn't have the same... See, that's a beautiful effect now where that gray is layering over that coral. So we're going to save most of our gray for later, but I'm going to keep this mixture. So maybe I'll put just a tiny shape in over here. This is kind of looks great over there. I don't want that to get in the way of anything. And you notice you've got shadow areas on the nose. I'm really not going to put any grays in there right now. So I've got these little areas around the eyes, which tend to run cooler anyway. I've got this shadow up under the hat. I've got the tiniest bit of this into the beard area and down over the neck. Tiny, tiny bit. Okay, so let's look at the hands, because in this case, maybe I wouldn't normally put gray on the hands, or not yet, but because we have these purple grapes, we've got a lot of area here that looks really grayed anyway. So I'm laying in grays. Remember, I'm keeping this thin. Oh, and by the way, you got to stir it up, because your colors separate here. So again, dry paper and just a small amount of color here. Let's go around that thumb. And then let's soften these edges. That's That's enough of that. I think I'm going to leave it off. There's a little bit of shadow over here, but I'm going to leave that off. So that's our start on this. So you want to let it soak into the paper before you dry it, and then you want to hard dry your paper. Okay, here we are again. So we're going to start now with some Quin Coral because we've got this beautiful little area here that really seems to be working well color-wise. So I think we could continue with the coral. Now this is just a lighter version of the photograph. And the main reason I'm using it, well, there's two reasons actually. My marks will show up better on this. I'm just going to mark directly on the photograph. But the other thing is that the other darker copies are out in my car, and I'm too lazy to go out and get it. So I'm going to look for dark areas that could use more red. And right here, oh, this pen's kind of dry. I think it'll mark. Go over the eyelid. You know what? I've got to get a different pen. And I had one handy. Okay. So I'm going to include the eye area, which is eyes look brown. Whether they're brown or not, they look brown here because they're just dark. And I might, again, remember this is arbitrary, what you decide to put in this. But I'm seeing a shape kind of like that. And then I'm seeing some shapes that are a lot more reddish, so I'm definitely going to use red there. And look at this shape. That's interesting. Look at that. Now right here, do you see that little pinkish area right here across this part of the nose? This defines some shape here. So at least in my first wash, I'm going to leave that in. So we're going to do here. I'm trying to keep my pencil out of the way. Pen. We've got a little shape like that. Now later I'll do some other shapes and I won't include that. You can see that here we've got some kind of jaggedy areas, and some of that is sun damaged skin. On a younger person you wouldn't have that. Let's go ahead and just get a little bit of shape in here at the edges of the mustache, and then here, under here in the nostril. Now on the lips, I'm going to do a jagged edge here. You can see part of the upper lip through the mustache. And over here, here's more mustache, because right there is the outer corner of that far side of the mouth. You can just barely see it, but I'm marking it here so that I can point it out to you, because right there is a highlight on the lip. Okay, so let's put a little dotted line here to remind us there's the edge of the lip. But then we have pink that's coming down, because the beard hair does not grow right up on the edge of the lip, at least not much. Here's a darker area. Okay. Here again, there's some sun damage there, but it's a darker area. And I don't want to try to fight with what's sun damage and what isn't. I just put it in. So here's a bit of a wrinkle area. Those areas there are lighter. All of this gets a little darker pink. Like that. So right in there, this is a pinken area. Okay, so let's look under the neck. Now this whole neck area is a little bit darker. There's one area here that's a little bit lighter. And so I'll just outline it for now. Ooh, like that, because all the rest of that's going to go darker pink. It's a little bit more of a jagged edge along here, and in here as we're getting closer to the ear. I can't actually see what's going on there, but this part here is hairier, has more white in it. So let's do these areas. And remember, we are working with, I'm checking my positioning here. I tell you what, I'm going to cut the top of this off so that I've got a little bit more room, camera room here. There we go. That'll work better. But you know what? I didn't do this to the hands. And I think it would be very helpful to maybe warm up on the fingers. So here's the whole finger here. You really can't see the edges of it very well. So we're going to make this area red. And I believe the finger is up here, something like that. So for now, we're going to do all of this interior area here. Here's the outside of this finger. And we'll just continue the pinks along in here like that. Yeah, even that little area is not that light, I don't think. This finger has a little bit of shading along the edge there, and we want to get that. There's a little bit of shading along here too. So while you see the okay, so all of this will be pinker, darker pink in here. So this is a good place to warm up just because it's not quite as critical as the face. So let's do the hands first. Okay, that's on camera. I have got just the Queen Coral here. And I think I'm going to use it separate from the yellow. Because I'm just being a little pickier about color here. You could, you know, outline these areas in pencil. I've tried using watercolor pencils for that are skin toned. I've just never had it work very well for me, but you see I'm pulling up a little bit of color right there. Instead of bleeding it out, I'm sucking it up right there and making it get lighter. There's still an edge. That's kind of nice right there. Add in a little bit more water. It's more concentrated at that end, so that they keep running into each other eventually. Let's see. This, oops. Okay. I didn't quite follow what I was supposed to here, what I planned to do here. Now again, this would be a good place to just suck it up. It's wet, it's juicy, but it's not bubbled up juicy. If it was bubbled up juicy, this wouldn't work very well. But I'm just gonna pull up some areas. See, I've really squeezed the brush out. So I will just soften some edges, but don't soften all of them. That just takes the life out of the painting. This is a painting, not a photographic reproduction. I had someone once years ago. I was selling paintings, commissioned portraits, and she came up and she said, you know, she asked about price and stuff, and she said, well, why don't I just get a photograph? That's cheaper. And I said, well, go ahead. But the point is, a painting is not a photograph. And it's not supposed to be. I mean, you're putting other things, you're putting interpretation into this. There are differences in color. There's all kinds of things that can make a painting more beautiful than a photograph. And if the photograph is the most gorgeous thing you've ever seen, then maybe you shouldn't paint it, because you're not going to enhance it any. The real artist, as you work and you get better at this, the real artist takes something and makes something new out of it. And you may see their work and think it's just a reproduction, but it's highly unlikely that it is. So this hand is really grayed down and dull. So there we go. So that's a nice start on that. I kind of got out of whack here. I think that was day number 1 that I did that. Oh well. Okay, so we've got this, and now let's go to the face. Let's see. Okay, I'm just making sure I'm in the right place. You could do this with a round brush if you wanted. I'm just much more successful with a flat, but I'm actually painting with the corner of the flat part of the time. So I want to be a little more careful here. This is juicy. Don't think that it's not. Oh, whoops. Started off in the wrong direction there. This does this. Oh, well, that does look a little harsh, doesn't it? So the thing is, it's probably not, but it's disturbing me. So rather, I could blot it, but I could just suck a little of it up in a couple of places, because all of this is going to get some more pink on it. This is just the darker area. And I marked the dark areas out here. Here I did sort of the overall thing. I hope that's not too confusing. Here's a little extra dark area right there. So I'll be putting a second layer on this in just a few minutes. I think I'll leave that really dark. Yeah, let's do I'm doing the darkest places right now. So here's a little place right up here. We've got some little backwards scallopy places. Okay, again, maybe I'll suck a little of it up. That's a little easier than blotting, in that you can be a little more selective about the placement of it. This is a little cruder tool to blot. I'm not getting quite the same thing. So you see, this doesn't follow the line around the nose. This is We're including all of this in a shadow. Parts of the nose, part of the skin by the mustache. There we go. Didn't get the shape quite to suit me here. I'll suck a little of that up. And I definitely want this to be lighter. And I got to get to it fast because it's a little thin peninsula there, and that'll dry really fast. Okay. I'm adding a little dab of water right there. I'm going to blot. Okay, I just had to lighten the whole thing. I can come back and darken part of it later. So I can blot there, and I'm not going to get this run back in effect because even though I'm working juicy, I'm working with small amounts of paint and water. And so it's small, it dries fast. So I'm not going to get that creepy run back in kind of area. I'm going to emphasize that corner of the mouth a little bit more than what I can see it here in the picture. Because I think if he were here today, he'd want me to. You don't want to start looking like his mouth is misshapen. And it almost does that in the photograph. Photographs lie. So let's catch some of this skin under here that runs into the beard. Pull up a little right there. That's already started drying. There. Okay, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. Now let's see, what other areas are really pretty dark here? Oh, by the way, look at that little spot right in there. I think that I have chopped a little bit off the end of his beard right here. And it's too late. I'll just have to leave that. Or maybe I've got a little too much here where I could put more shirt in. I'm not sure what I did wrong there, but I did something. So you could come along and add in a few little places here. I made some of them with my, oh, here's some skin coming up this way. Okay, I'm happy with that. Now I'll go ahead and get a few more of these slightly darker areas in. And then we'll put a larger pink wash on some areas. And all of this gets darker back here. It's mostly skin. There's some hair there, but it's mostly skin. Okay. I'm relatively pleased with how this is going. wonder how many guys are growing beards now that they're that are staying in. I may not recognize anybody when they come back out and they haven't gotten their hair dyed, and the guys that got beards, I may not know anyone. Okay, so that's a nice start. Can you see this area right here? You can see that this area recedes. It dips in, and right here it just looks full. I'm going to, just because I just noticed that and it's bothering me, I'm going to go ahead and make that recede a little bit. It's not that it had to happen at that stage of the painting. It's just that's when it spoke to me. Okay, so let's get this dry. So he's starting to look human here. But I've got 30 minutes on the video, so I need to stop it and download it so I don't have trouble with it. Talk to you later. I'll do more this week. Bye.